coded in those images that somehow it can tell that the image has been changed.
Demonstration or Wirecast?
It's my favorite one, 48. And actually, I haven't done this.
Now, will that mixer, will it do, like you have 4 inputs, will it put all 4 up like that?
No. It'll only do 2 at a time.
What a cheap piece of junk.
For what it does, the thing that makes it a cheap piece of junk is that when you get into it, you'll see that it actually isn't super high resolution.
Right.
And you know, for having a cheap and easy switcher, it works.
Yeah.
But now we're into the high definition era, and you know, when you get an actual high definition source and you play something, you run through that switcher, it's going to go, ugh, you know.
Well, what happened to that?
Yeah, and compare it to the high def stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to be coming into $8 grand anytime soon for buying a...
Me neither. And that's why I wonder how well the Wirecast works in high def. If it really is as advertised, or if it's... Because sometimes when it's advertised, there's so many disclaimers that you have to read and understand. And the understanding...
When we say high def, we don't really mean high def.
Well, the understanding is part of it. You know, well, you know, actually some things like, it'll work with some machines.
Yeah.
You know, like if you have a Cray supercomputer, it'll be high def.
Yeah.
This should not be tried on a laptop or a home computer.
Yeah.
Oh, could you do me a favor and bring up the Justin page in case somebody's trying to talk to us? I don't know why they want to talk to us. They probably have better things to do with their lives.
I would hope so. Safari.
I don't know much about it. Some people try and get Firefox or whatever. You know, between all the browsers, I've never really seen anything that affects most people that they would want to go with one over the other. What I would hate to see is when things start becoming browser specific, you know, well, this will only work on Firefox. Usually it's Microsoft that does that.
Yeah.
With
Internet Explorer.
yeah. I'm not fond of Internet Explorer. Especially after they quit supporting Macs a few years ago.
Right.
When Mac came out, it was just people said, well, you like Safari better anyway. It works so much better with all the other stuff that works really well on a Mac.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the bigger things with PCs, is that they never came out with a really good working unified system. You know, like the photos will work with it. And there's so many people who manufacture PCs that, like, say you get a Toshiba, well, they have their own proprietary software for photos and videos and this and that and the other. It doesn't work with anything else on the internet, you know.
I haven't run into that problem. That might have been true 10 or 15 years ago, but a lot of it is really, you know, they've gotten the standards and everything down.
Yeah.
And a lot of the PCs started out or learned from
They're not
Mac.
going to corner the market on that.
Yeah, it's like, hell, if we do that, we're just screwing ourselves. yeah, it'd be really cool if Topeka could get that Google thing.
I think that probably, my prediction is the same thing that always kills Topeka when it comes to that will come back to haunt them again. Well, you got nothing to offer us but Jesus and softballs and truck pools.
Well, it's not like Google's moving their headquarters here. It's like they're just going to try this experiment with their fiber optic things. And I think
Maybe they're looking for average Joe place.
I think that's it. And I think, they're doing this in a couple of different cities. And it's kind of experimental. I don't think Google would have proceeded this far if they weren't pretty damn sure it would work.
Have you heard about their social networking thing? They put their social networking out called Buzz.
Right.
And apparently it was very buggy in that it was giving out all your personal information to everyone.
Right.
And Google went, oops, you should have beta tested that better.
Yeah. Stuff like that's always going to happen. But yeah, it's but for Topeka, I think one of the things that's really going to kill it is the politicians.
Yeah. Oh, could you do me a favor and try to zoom out on that camera?
Sure.
Yeah.
Where's the zoomer?
It's on this side. This is a show. Hey, your camera looks wrong. Can you give yourself a little more headroom?
It's as wide as it gets.
You're just too wide for the camera.
I guess. My head's too big. But I mean, yeah, there's going to be people that don't really understand it. I think there are some people around now that kind of learned from the mistake of new tech, like, oh, let's not be so quick to, even though we don't understand it, don't know what it's about, let's not be so quick to shoot it.
Is that for real, though? Because unfortunately, I think a lot of people still don't know what new tech is. New tech? What's that?
Well, exactly. But at the same time,
Washburn campus.
yeah. I think now a lot of people are kicking themselves, and I think there are a few, I hesitate to say movers and shakers, but people that have since they've done that have really nailed those good old boys to, like, not that they nailed them to the point where they left like they should, but like, you guys fucked up, and you did it because you didn't know what was going on. You guys have spent way too much time on this golf course, and you don't know what's going on in the real world. And that is a big part of the problem with Topeka, is this town has really been fuck. A lot of provincialism, or just sort of isolated. And a lot of these old fuddy-duddies are, I think, slowly, I think what's really happening is they're dying off, or retiring into, total senility, where they, they're kind of loosening their grip, and some slightly younger, little bit more educated people are coming in and saying, look, indoor plumbing is the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of other cities have indoor plumbing. We better move into the dark ages.
Oh, as opposed to the Taliban?
Yeah. And, them their electric lights, that might be good for Topeka. A lot of other cities got electric lights. And I think some of this sort of attitude goes back even that far. Although actually that's not true. I think there is a point where up through the early 70s or so, where Topeka wasn't nearly as regressive. I wouldn't say it was especially progressive, but at least they were kind of on the on the curve. And
hopefully someplace we'll stay off of. And Center Line and the other oncoming traffic.
Yeah. But,
Horizon's Hamburger Palace.
But, yeah, it's, I think there is a bit of movement in Topeka. There's that whole visioning thing, which I've been really up and down on in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, I think, okay, this is a great idea, it's really cool, but I can already see the writing on the wall from the first meeting I went to. And I always try and double check myself. It's like, wait a minute, you're so jaded and cynical and, you know, have just so much distrust in the city of Topeka that, you know, you're not really looking at this in any sort of positive way. The other side of my brain is saying, you know, past behavior is the best indication of future behavior. And then I look at the chairman of the boards and the main people sitting on the boards of directors of the visioning process, and it's kind of like, these are the same exact white-collar criminals that have been fucking things up for the last 30 years, or these are their tools. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, these people did not have a revelation overnight. And if they did, it was probably something along the lines of they looked at the property values and all they owned and realized, you know, it's like, wait a minute, our shit's worthless.
Yeah.
You know, we can try and charge $2,500 a month all we want downtown, but it's staying empty.
Oh, is this the Monster Truck Center?
Yeah, the Tyrannosaurus Rexville Center. And, yeah, so it's, but I think there are enough people around that that visioning thing did plant a kernel of
Panic.
Yeah, well, of sort of excitement and motivation. And from what I've seen, the people that are actually motivated and trying to do things aren't really that closely associated with the visioning process. Mm-hmm. You know, there's this art group, Quartz and Oil, and I don't know a whole lot about them. I know people that are part of that. And there's a little bit of that sort of hipster kind of coffee house thing involved there. And, you know, that's sort of whatever. They never came out and said, hey, we're by the people, for the people, we're, you know, doors wide open. In some ways, I think one of them basically said this to my face, but he was honest and straightforward about it. He wasn't being totally exclusive and completely elitist about it. He goes, you know, this is basically for us, you know, and our group of people, you know, we're not going to totally chase anybody else out, but, you know, fuck being some sort of big open door thing, you know, and I'm kind of like, well, hey, cool, we can know that up front.
You can respect that if they come out up front. A lot of people don't, or if they do. See, what always spoils that is that somebody figures out how to get the money involved in that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it may start out as like this little secretive society of friends, you know, like, we only want this for us. And then somebody says, hey, you're doing a great thing, and we'll give you $100,000 to help fund the arts and stuff. And they're like, oh, great. But then they still, in the end, are doing the same thing they did before,